So, have you ever stood in front of a door, completely baffled about whether to push or pull?
Oh, definitely. That's what designers call a normandoor, right? The classic
Yeah.
example where the design just ships you up.
Exactly. Or, like, maybe you've hit one of those vending machines that makes you press a button before you put money in. It just feels wrong somehow.
Yeah, totally against convention.
Well, if you have, you've felt those, silent, often kind of frustrating costs of core design. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving headfirst into this whole world of design for usability and interaction design.
It's a fascinating area.
It really is. Our mission here is to unpack what actually makes a design good or, well, bad,
Hmm.
and explore the surprising costs, sometimes hidden costs, of getting it wrong.
Hmm.
And also to understand that crucial difference between how something works, its function, and how it feels to use it.
Right, the UI versus the UX piece.
Exactly. And this whole deep dive, it's built from a core source document we found, Design for Usability Lecture 2.pdf. It's just packed with insights, loads of practical examples, too.
Yeah, that source is great. And those frustrating things you mentioned, the Norman door, that weird vending machine, maybe from a site like baddesigns.com, which collects these things, are perfect examples of the tangible costs.
Tangible costs, right.
It's not just you being annoyed. It's actual lost time. It's wasted effort. And sometimes it can even be safety issues.
That makes sense.
And this is precisely why the field of interaction design exists. It's all about tackling these challenges, trying to radically improve how we interact with, well, everything around us. Products, systems, you name it.
So it's more than just the product itself. It's like who's using it, where they're using it. Okay, let's unpack this a bit more. What exactly are we designing for when we talk about interaction design? It sounds like there's more to it than just, making things look nice.
Absolutely. You're spot on. When we talk about designing interactive products, we're really aiming for two distinct sets of goals.
Okay.
First up, we have user interface goals, UI goals. These are basically about how effectively and efficiently you, the user, can get a specific task done using a product.
Getting the job done.
Exactly. Accuracy, completeness, that sort of thing. But then separately, we have user experience goals, UX goals. Now, these focus entirely on how you feel about the whole experience.
The feeling part.
Yes, this is where satisfaction comes in, enjoyment, delight, maybe even emotional fulfillment. It's much more subjective.
That distinction, UI and UX, it seems really clear now. UI is the what it does functionally, and UX is how it makes you feel doing it.
Yeah?
But is there ever like a tension between those two? Can something be super functional but still just awful to use?
Oh, definitely. And that's where it gets really interesting. There's often a potential for trade-offs between UI and UX goals. It's a balancing act.
Oh, so.
Well, think about it. Can a product really be both incredibly fun and totally safe at the same time? Maybe not always perfectly.
Good point. Like a complex medical device versus a video game.
Exactly. A medical device has to prioritize safety and effectiveness, right? Getting critical tasks done correctly, no errors allowed. Fun isn't really the point there.
Right.
Whereas a game, that's all about delight, engagement. You might even sacrifice a little bit of pure efficiency just to make the experience more immersive or enjoyable.
Okay, I see.
So the real insight here isn't just that trade-offs exist, but recognizing that a truly, successful design isn't about perfectly balancing everything. It's about making conscious, strategic choices based on what that product is actually for.
Strategic choices.
Yeah. And the lecture material we looked at points out that a good design process usually involves a systematic design cycle, like 4 key steps. And it really emphasizes involving users all the way through and testing as much as possible.
Right. So to actually hit those UI and UX goals, you can't just build something in isolation. You need to know who you're building it for, what their lives are like.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Precisely. To truly optimize the interactions so they genuinely match what users need and do, designers have to consider 4 critical factors. You need to understand who the users are,
Okay.
what activities they're carrying out with the product. That's the task.
The task, right.
Where the interaction is taking place. That's the context, the environment.
Makes sense.
And finally, what equipment will be used, the technology itself, phones, computers, whatever it is.
And thinking about that practical side, when we talk about understanding users' needs, it sounds like it really boils down to thinking about what people are naturally good at, what they struggle with, how we can help them. And crucially, like the source says, listening to what users want, get them involved. It really hammers home using tried and tested user-based methods.
Yeah, user involvement is key.
And this isn't just, academic theory. This is a real profession. People do this for a living. We see companies like the example mentioned, Burning Fruit in Perth.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
They use real people together with various study methods and cutting-edge technology to understand exactly what works and what does not work. The whole industry.
It really is.
Okay, so it's easy to feel if a design is good or bad, but how do we actually, prove it? Are there real ways to measure something that feels so subjective?
Well, our source argues that we absolutely can, which is pretty cool. When we talk about user interaction criteria or UI criteria, often just called usability, there are specific measurable things a system should have to be genuinely usable.
Okay, like what? Give me some examples.
All right, let's look at a couple of the big ones. First, there's effectiveness.
Effectiveness.
Yeah, this is really about accuracy and completeness. Did the user achieve their goal? How well?
How do you measure that?
We look at things like performance level, speed, error rates, or for broader impact, does the design work well for, say, 90% of the target users? Does it work on most web browsers people actually use?
Gotcha.
And really importantly, effectiveness also includes accessibility. Can people with disabilities use it effectively? That's crucial.
Okay, accessibility is part of effectiveness.
Yeah.
What else?
Then we have efficiency. This looks at the resources used to achieve those goals.
Resources like time, effort.
Exactly. How many steps does it take? How much time? And also the mental effort or even physical effort required? Lower is better, obviously.
Makes sense. Less work, less thinking.
Right. And beyond just efficiency, we absolutely have to consider safety.
Safety, okay. That sounds important.
Hugely. It's not just about comfort, it's about preventing actual harm or loss. Products legally have to meet certain standards, just like we have regulations for, say, screen ergonomics or battery chargers, making sure they won't cause problems.
So there are actual standards, like Australian standards mentioned in the source.
Yes, exactly. Like AS 3590 for screens or AS 4044 for chargers. It's serious stuff.
Okay, effectiveness, efficiency, safety. What else makes UI measurable?
Another critical one is learnability. How much effort or time does it take for someone new to get proficient?
Ah, how easy is it to pick up?
Precisely.
Mm.
You can measure this. Can a typical user do key tasks within a certain time after, say, installing it or starting training? There's even Jakob Nielsen's famous 10-minute rule for simple systems. Should be learnable fast.
10 minutes, wow.
For simple things, yeah. And linked very closely to that is memorability.
Memorability, like can you remember how to use it later?
Exactly. If you step away for a while, can you come back and recall what to do? We measure if a typical user can still perform tasks after a specified period of not using it. It's about how intuitive it remains, how well you retain it.
Okay, that makes sense. You don't want to have to relearn it every time.
Definitely not.
But, okay, beyond just getting the job done well effectively, safely, our source points out that a really great design makes you feel something, right?
The experience side.
Which brings us to the user experience criteria, the UX stuff,
Yeah.
sometimes called desirability or marketability.
Right. This is where we brainstorm attributes like, is it satisfying, enjoyable, fun, delightful even, motivating? Does it look good, aesthetically pleasing? Does it support creativity or feel emotionally fulfilling?
Lots of feeling words there.
Yeah, it's subjective, but
Yeah.
take satisfaction specifically. That's about how happy the user is. And we can try to measure that using recognized tools like the questionnaire for user interface satisfaction, the QUIS. You look for high scores reflecting genuine user happiness.
So you can measure feelings, sort of.
Well, you can attempt to quantify the user's reported feelings, yes. But this does raise an important question. How easy is it, really, to measure usability goals versus user experience goals?
Yeah, I was wondering that.
While we have pretty clear metrics for usability time, errors, completion rates, capturing the subjective stuff, the nuances of UX, that's often more complex. It usually needs different methods like surveys, interviews, qualitative feedback to really understand how people feel.
It's true. Feels trickier. But thankfully, designers aren't just starting from a blank slate every time, are they? The core paper we're using, it gives some essential do's and don'ts, right? Like useful advice for thinking about different aspects of design so we don't have to start from scratch.
Exactly. These are often called design principles. They're like proven rules of thumb, things we've learned over time work well.
Okay, let's run through some of those. First up, visibility.
Ah, yes. How apparent are the product's functions?
Like, remember that confusing tap from baddesigns.com? Looks complicated, maybe does a lot, but you're just standing there asking, how does this thing work?
Right. Good design makes functions obvious, no guesswork needed. What you see should give you clues about what you can do.
Okay, visibility. What's next?
Then there's feedback. This is absolutely crucial.
Feedback, meaning.
Providing information back to the user about what just happened. What action was taken? Was it successful? This could be a sound, highlighting something on screen, an animation, maybe even a tactile feeling like a vibration.
Ah, so the system tells you it understood you.
Precisely. And the key is it needs to be fast. Ideally, under 100 milliseconds delay. You want that immediate confirmation.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I remember struggling with a new smart home gadget last year. The feedback was almost non-existent.
Oh, yeah.
I kept pushing buttons, wondering, did it even register that? Is it working? It was so frustrating.
That's a classic example of poor feedback design. Leaves you completely uncertain.
Okay, visibility, feedback. What else?
We also have constraints.
Constraints, like limits.
Exactly. Things that restrict the possible actions you can take, helping to prevent you from selecting incorrect options. Norman identified 3 main types here.
3 types.
First, physical constraints. How physical objects actually restrict movement. Think about inserting a key into a lock. Usually only one way works.
Right, or how you insert a CD or DVD.
Though famously, there's the obvious flaw with USB sticks, right? Seems like it should only go one way, but...
Yes. Always the wrong way first time.
Always. So, physical. Then there are logical constraints. These use people's common sense reasoning about how the world works.
Like the layout of stove burners matching the knobs.
That's a great example. Though the source does caution that common sense reasoning is sometimes not reliable. People's logic can differ.
True. Okay. Physical, logical. What's the third?
Cultural constraints. These are learned conventions, often arbitrary. Like red triangles meaning warning. These can be pretty universal or sometimes very specific to a culture.
Okay, so visibility, feedback, constraints.
Got it. Next up is mapping.
Mapping. What's that map?
It refers to the relationship between the controls, buttons, levers, whatever, and their movements and the results they produce in the system.
Ah, like does pressing this button do what I expect it to do?
Exactly. Think about music or video player controls. Good mapping means the forward button moves things forward. The volume slider clearly controls volume. The source mentions how the old tape player convention often still applies to digital players because the data is accessed serially.
Right, like play, pause, stop are pretty standard now.
Yeah. Bad mapping leaves you guessing which button does what. It's all about making that control-to-outcome relationship clear and predictable.
Okay, mapping makes sense. And then there's a really big one for making things easier to learn, right? Consistency.
Yes, consistency is huge. Designing interfaces so that similar operations work in similar ways, and using similar elements for similar tasks.
The classic example being keyboard shortcuts, right? Like Ctrl key plus first initial of the command.
Precisely. Ctrl plus C for copy, Ctrl plus S for save, Ctrl plus O for open. We learn these patterns.
And the main benefit is just, it's easier.
Consistent interfaces are easier to learn and use, absolutely. Reduces the mental load.
But what happens when that breaks down? Like, what if you have lots of commands starting with the same letter?
Good question. That's a common challenge. Think about S. You might have save, spelling, select, style, all starting with S.
Right, you can't use Ctrl plus S for all of them.
Exactly. So designers have to find other combinations, maybe Ctrl plus SP or Ctrl plus Shift plus L or something else entirely. But each exception increases the learning burden, makes it more prone to errors.
Yeah, I can see that. And this consistency thing, it gets even trickier when you think about, well, a consistency within one app versus consistency across different apps, right?
Yeah, you're jumping ahead perfectly. That leads us to internal versus external consistency.
Okay, break that down.
Internal consistency means operations behave the same way within a single application or system. Everything hangs together nicely inside that one program.
Makes sense.
External consistency is about operations, interfaces, visual elements being the same across different applications, maybe even different devices or platforms.
And that happens less often.
Yeah, the source notes external consistency is very rarely the case, often because different companies design things, or they have competing standards, or just different ideas.
And sometimes trying to be too consistent externally can get you into trouble.
It can. If you imitate another successful interface too closely, you might run into legal issues, like those look and feel lawsuits mentioned. Think about the big Apple versus Samsung phones and tablets cases.
Right, trying to copy too much.
Yeah. And a really common everyday example of external inconsistency is the number keypad layout.
How so?
Think about phones and remote controls versus calculators and computer number pads.
Oh, they're reversed, aren't they?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 top on phone, 7, 8, 9 top on keyboard.
Exactly. Why? Historical reasons, apparently. But it means we constantly have to switch the learned pattern depending on the device. It's a minor annoyance, but it shows how external consistency often breaks down.
Huh. Never really thought about why they were different.
Yeah, it's one of those things. So those are some key design principles. Visibility, feedback, constraints, mapping, consistency, really useful guides.
Definitely. But then the source also mentions something slightly different. Usability principles. How are they different from these design principles?
Good question. The source describes usability principles as being more prescriptive. They're less like general guidelines and more like specific rules or heuristics.
More prescriptive, okay?
Yeah, and they're often used mainly for evaluating systems. They provide a framework for something called heuristic evaluation.
Heuristic evaluation, what's that?
It's basically where usability experts use these principles as a checklist to inspect an interface and identify potential design flaws before it goes to users.
Ah, like an expert review using a standard list.
Exactly. Jacob Nielsen's 10 usability principles from 2001 are probably the most famous set. Things like visibility of system status, which links back to feedback, or consistency and standards, which we just talked about.
So they overlap a bit with the design principles.
They do, but they're framed more as checkable items. Others include match between system and the real world, user control and freedom, error prevention, recognition rather than recall, making things obvious rather than forcing users to remember them.
That sounds useful. Recognition rather than recall.
It's a big one. Also, flexibility and efficiency of use, aesthetic and minimalist design, and making sure there's good help and documentation.
So a whole set of rules to check against.
Pretty much. What's key is that they offer a practical way to systematically spot potential usability problems early on, saves a lot of hassle later, like error prevention. It sounds obvious, but really thinking about how to design things so users can't easily make mistakes is way better than just having good error messages after they mess up.
Proactive design.
Exactly.
Okay, wow. We've covered a lot, from frustrating doors to UI versus UX, measuring usability, design principles, usability principles. So what does this all mean? Where does this leave us?
Well, I think ultimately this deep dive shows that we're really concerned with, the source puts it, designing interactive products to support people in their everyday and working lives.
Supporting people, making things work for them.
Right. And interaction design is truly multidisciplinary. It pulls from psychology, computer science, graphic design, ergonomics, lots of fields, all trying to understand how we think, how we act, and how technology can best serve us.
And as we said, this is big business. You can absolutely get a job doing this stuff.
Definitely.
It involves really thinking about all those factors, the context, the task, the user trying to make our interactions with technology, well, a little bit smoother, maybe even more enjoyable.
And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, the key takeaway for me is understanding that it is possible to clearly specify usability and user experience criteria, measure them, and apply design principles to try to achieve the goals.
It's not just guesswork.
Not at all. It's a systematic process.
Yeah.
And that systematic approach is what can transform those frustrating designs we started with into genuinely useful, maybe even delightful experiences that just make sense.
Okay, so a final thought for you, the listener. Now that you've got these insights into usability and user experience, maybe start looking around you. Look at the products you use every day, the apps on your phone, even the doors you walk through with the new kind of critical eye.
Become a design critic.
Yeah. Which designs genuinely delight you? Which ones feel, well, honestly, kind of broken?
Yeah.
And thinking about the principles we discussed, visibility, feedback, constraints, consistency, how would you redesign them to make them better?